The Congressional DOGE Caucus is a bipartisan group established earlier this year to collaborate with the Department of Government Efficiency to streamline government operations and reduce waste, fraud, and abuse in the executive branch. The caucus seeks to make government more efficient and effective for American taxpayers by leveraging technology and innovation. Representative Pete Sessions represents Texas's 17th congressional district and is co-chair of the DOGE Caucus. So I know there's this broad notion to save money in modernization technology. How is your caucus looking at emerging technology, the sort of forefront of tech evolution to get at waste, fraud, and abuse?
Thank you very much. And what a delight it is to be with you this morning. Increasingly, America is more than just in a revolution that's technology, of turning over of whole generations of technologies to where they have a whole new meaning and a whole new future. DOGE Caucus is interested in government efficiency. And we see that there are things that have been occurring in government efficiency or inefficiency that are hindering the ability that the government has to not only gather and have data, but to make sure that the integrity of that data, as well as the integrity of new technologies, is available to at least people that need it. I remember when I came in Congress, the GSA had by choice old computers rather than moving to the newest computers that would be CAD oriented, because that was how they did business. I was able to understand that. I didn't agree with it. I wanted them to begin migrating a little bit at a time to CAD. The same system that the FAA operates today in airports all across this country is an analog as opposed to being a digital system. I represented Dallas, Texas for 22 years, and during that period of time, the equipment, the use of that, and its effectiveness were diminished because of the inefficiencies of that system on a regular basis. And we went through here in Congress with a determined intent to update the FAA and ran into a roadblock because of outside interests. My point is that the contributing factor to $1.7 trillion worth of waste, fraud, and abuse every 3 years on a moving forward basis is what GAO understands has been occurring primarily from 20 forward, and they offered in a hearing no belief that that would get better. So this is where DOGE, a group of people who are interested on a bipartisan basis, are interested in fixing the technology that we have to corresponding not only with, I'm not going to call it best in class, but what would be better, well enough to at least meet the needs of 2025. And for us to help prioritize what those systems would be with OMB, who correspondingly is where DOGE Article 2 resides. What is our effort now? Well, right now, our effort is to make sure that we are looking at causes of waste, fraud, and abuse, and trying to make sure that government systems, including the IRS, including the FAA, including other sensitive areas, are taken care of. And one of the things that we found out is that the death file. It may have a particular name, but I'll call it a death file, which is compiled by states that report that to the federal government. The federal government has, of their own volition, not been interested in sharing that data and information out of the Social Security office, who by and large had huge amounts of people at home, and we're not running that data. We're not providing that data of people who had passed away, so that the benefits, whether it be the VA, Medicare, Medicaid, the IRS, was updated. Secondly, and that is a major priority for us to figure out the data flow, that where it flows across government appropriately and within the limits of what is expected to be a law. And secondly, what is reported by states that always do not update their files because they don't have the money, but it's related to people who are on unemployment, to where our systems can match their systems. So DOGE in the House has a particular taste for and viewpoint to make sure that we give the correct money, that we line up the lines of authority and how these may flow, and work with OMB to where they can come back to us and say, okay, we bettered the ability of the government to reduce waste, fraud, and abuse through the transmission of data, the availability of government workers to access that data, and to properly make sure that the job that they perform is in line with the reality of where a person is in their life.
So I know you said you're talking to, you're working with OMB and how, and certainly obviously within the White House, this stuff is moving really fast. How are you keeping up with the stuff that the Department of Government Efficiency is doing, parachuting into agencies and announcing things?
Well, and that's a logical question, and one which, Ross, I believe about 99% of the American people want to ask also. So you asked a consensus question, and the answer is, I do not think that my job is the same job that they have, not in scope, not in responsibility, but we do have in Article 1 a responsibility to pass the funding of the government at a level that not only can make things better, but that the president, the House, and the Senate would decide on. We believe we are attempting to make some inquiry now about the architecture, the need of law, and the reliability to understand that we need to say, OMB, we would like for you to materially spend money to update these services. And I believe that they are aware of that. I believe there is a priority being put on it. And no, sir, I am not staying up with the speed at which they are moving, the speed of information to employees, who's there, who's not there. And we are struggling to stay up with that because we don't have the exact visibility that I would hope to have as one of the co-chairmen for DOGE.
I want to go back to something you said about data and getting data to the people that need it. Is that Congress? Is that OMB? How are you getting the data to all the eyes that need to see it?
Well, let me go back and say to you, OMB, Office of Management and Budget, have personnel there that have been auditors. They have printed out reports for years and years and years. They have stated things that agencies should be doing. And by and large, these agencies have partially done or ignored that information. We're hopeful that we can achieve an understanding with OMB. And in my opinion, OMB has a director now that is going to, instead of advising government, the FAA, the Treasury Department, these other agencies, and that they blow it off, I think that they will have a better handle of saying, we are going to ask that you work with us and get these done on a priority basis. And the reason why I say that is that we know several years ago, we gave back $400 billion to incorrect people. We did not know who they correctly were. They need to come up with a better process, either it being a profile that people come in and ascertain, or that they have parameters that are better vetted, just like what an outside organization might do. I'll say American Express, but something, perhaps it's Schwab, where we gain information. But these agencies that give out billions of dollars a year, many times are guessing at a person when it's time to do this, and we need to be better able. So it's a priority.
I know you've talked about that you're bringing working groups to the caucus and you're getting everybody together, getting the focus that they want. Is tech involved there? What are you talking about with modernization in these working groups and getting things up to speed, like you mentioned?
Well, we are talking about modernization, but what we're also talking about is it's not just a matter of giving out a contract to decide where we're going. Lots of times it is the relationship into that, about a good architecture that's going to work, about someone taking time to make sure that it's not ready, aim, fire that we want, that is many times ready, fire, aim. We spend an incredible amount of money through lots of organizations, whether it be the VA or others, to design these projects that then maybe they have a life of their own and did not work the way we thought. So I think that there's a more deliberate need for us to prioritize these, make sure they work. And two of those might be the Treasury system, the Social Security system, and the FAA. And the reason why I say the FAA is we just had a catastrophic failure on the Potomac. And while we don't have complete visibility of that, something went wrong. We've now started having more airplane incidents, and we need to make sure that the safety of that system is a priority to the government and the American people.
Congress has the power of the purse, of course, as we all know, and to that end, can you just talk about the power of the purse and where you are on having to spend money to save money?
In fact, as we are now in February of 2025, we understand that the needs of the nation are being addressed differently than what they were with the prior administration. The prior administration chose to take 30% of the money that we borrow on short-term interest rates that are at about 4.5%. We are going to come in and allow the government to repurchase these at longer term rates that will readdress the looking forward, and hopefully will give us, as we buy down this debt, will allow us to recapitalize, in essence, our loan. In that process, we're also attempting to take money and offer an opportunity for people who wish to leave the government because of new realities that we need government workers to come to work. And so this is causing different transactions to take place of debt limits. They would be increased so that we can then repurchase debt to buy it down at another rate, invest in the future differently, and bring government workers in with an allocation of the numbers of workers and where they are. Congress does have the power of the purse, and we believe that effectively retooling the business now is better than retooling it either next year or not at all.
How is technology playing into that sort of, I guess would be the question is, how are you identifying these things? How are you moving forward on those things?
Yes, sir. Technology is a key factor in this, where I believe that we're going to have to get our key technologists in the same room with OMB and deal with each other in a way to where we describe the same problem to the same group of people and fix it. And fixing it means that we transcend every bit of this and move forward on a priority basis. It does not mean we fix the whole government. It does mean that we fix the priorities and put it, not a date certain, but a date that we aim at. And those would be the Treasury, the IRS, Social Security, and at least what I would say the FAA. So those would be the priorities, not the only ones. I mean, we got more than three brains or two sides of our brain. We can work on this, but those to Congress are priorities.
GovCast, along with Cybercast and HealthCast, is a production of GovCIO Media and Research. For more podcasts and to check out the other shows, head to govciomedia.com.